Within this old house live two residents. One of them is John Russell, composer, professor. The other has been dead for over 70 years.
Claire, I'd like to talk to you about the house.
Did you die in this house? How did you die?
Whatever it is, it's trying desperately to communicate. What is it in that house, Claire? What is it doing? Why is it trying to reach me?
Okay, we're starting with The Changeling. What was the year on this one?
1980.
1980. The salad days. I was 4.
Yep.
So I obviously caught up with this movie later in life, but I have a memory of seeing this at a young age and being quite scared, specifically by the woman being chased out of the house by the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that for some reason really terrifying me. Upon revisiting the movie and seeing it again, I guess I'm going to say it doesn't scare me the way it did when I was a kid. It is, as you were talking about, a very classic form ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
I think the strongest asset that it has going for it is the central performance by George C. Scott and the atmosphere of the house itself.
Yes.
Beyond that, it's hard for me to foam at the mouth over The Changeling, but I am kind of a fan. So, what do you think of The Changeling, Mr. J. Adrian Cook?
Well, let's talk about the plot here. As you mentioned, it is a very classical form story.
We open, as so many horror movies open, with our main character suffering a terrible tragedy. Mm-hmm. In this case, his wife and his daughter are killed in front of him in a horrible car accident.
And then, as many other horror movies begin, he moves into a new house.
The spookiest place imaginable.
Yes. And when he's there, he starts hearing banging in the hallways at a certain time in the morning and discovers a secret room where there's an empty wheelchair and evidence that many years ago, years ago, a child lived there. So...
but otherwise, it's your classic Hardy Boy, choose your own adventure, in that there's a ghost that wants something. What is the mystery that needs to be solved that will settle the spirit?
Indeed. And as that, it is a very familiar story, and I can't get behind it just because it's happened so many times. And I wonder if it had been 1980 and I'd seen it as an adult, whether or not it would be still very familiar ground. Honestly, I don't know enough about cinema of the past to say that, to make that call.
It definitely has that 70s aesthetic, although it is 1980, where it seems to have no problem taking its time with things.
Yes.
And that hurts the movie. Because I do think you could probably scale this down to 90 minutes. It's almost 2 hours long as it stands, and I don't think that it needs to be. But I do have this thing with George C. Scott. He's got this weird, grumpy, and yet charming vibe to him.
Indeed.
The first few minutes of the movie where we see him with his family are the only time in the movie where it seems weird, because he seems so happy and pleasant.
I'm so happy!
It just doesn't seem to agree with him. As soon as his family gets wiped out, then I believe him. I believe he's a miserable son of a bitch, who's had a hard life. And yeah, he's a musician. He's got this artistic flair or whatever, so he can connect to this spirit on several different levels. He's close to death. He's he's in a similar state of misery that the spirit is. What I did find kind of interesting, the spirit's kind of a dick.
Okay, well,
I think
let's
in
hear
a lot
that.
of ways.
I mean, he kills somebody.
Well, George C. Scott, I mean, the place has been kept abandoned, basically deliberately, by the Historical Society. George C. Scott's the first person to live there, so I mean, arguably, he might be trying to reach anybody who is in the house. But he has the most success with this, our protagonist. And he does everything he can to help the ghost. He doesn't flee from the place, he doesn't burn the place down. He tries to help the ghost. And the ghost, in turn, gets frustrated with the poor results and tries to kill him. There's a scene where it tries to blow him off. Well, it successfully blows him through the stairwell and down to the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
Why be such a dick about it?
Was he trying to kill George C. Scott at that point? Let's call him John, since that's
John
his
is his character's name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was he really trying to kill him, or just scare him to get him, to prod him, get him moving?
I don't know. It just, I mean, I guess in keeping with the fact that it's a child, maybe it's a child throwing a tantrum, not knowing its own strength or whatever. But I prefer the smaller moments, the ball thumping down the stairs,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, just a single note hitting on the piano to let you know, scary things will be happening.
Yeah, banging in the hallways, which does owe a lot to the 63 haunting, which I already mentioned.
Yeah.
So one of the unfortunate things about this movie is the character of Claire, who plays the love interest, and I use that term love interest in the most Hollywood way possible, as in I get the sense that it's a role that was tacked on to just have a woman in the movie, because she doesn't do anything. She's just there whenever John needs to talk to somebody, and she gets chased around by the wheelchair and needs saving at one point. But
there is also a palpable lack of chemistry between the two of them.
Yes. The fabled anti-chemistry.
Yeah, well, it's just like he's in a bad place. Everybody knows that he's still licking his wounds. Like, it's only been a few months. If she's trying to put the moves on this musician, I don't know. She comes off a little harsh to me, you know. And yeah, I wasn't invested in that character, and that's, I think, part of the reasons that when she gets chased out of the house by the wheelchair, I didn't really feel it, because, you know, if she was captured and killed by the wheelchair somehow, it would have had the same effect on me emotionally as her escape. It was minimal.
Incidentally, having seen this movie later in life and not being scarred as a child, the effect on me was just humor, honestly. I thought it was really funny.
And again, why? What
Why?
had she done?
Mm-hmm.
What had she done? It was just, we needed another scaring beat here.
Yes. A couple musical things I should mention in this.
Other than the fact that George C. Scott clearly can't play piano.
Well, yeah. And maybe I'll start with that one first. He's playing a composer.
Mm-hmm.
And the music he composes is from, like, it sounds like it was written 150 years ago. It's really unrealistic that this guy would be a famous composer in the university system.
Yeah,
right
I don't know.
now.
I could see some grumpy, snobby musician who says there's been no good music written since 1731 or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but he's got a following and he's got a name. And in order to have earned a name in the 1980s university system back then, you would have to be writing music where, you know, the musicians are barking and clapping like seals and dunking their violins in buckets of diarrhea.
Well, I'm glad they didn't go there.
Well, yeah, I wish I was kidding about that too, incidentally. But, yeah, with the music that he's writing, I see why it's important to the plot, because at one point he hears the sound of a melody in his head which comes from the music box upstairs.
Yeah,
but
that's one of the first ways that he's communicated with. That's what I was going through with the whole artistic temperament as being a way in for the spirit.
But not necessarily a realistic character. The second thing I want to mention about the music is the score. This was written at a time when musical score composers could and were expected to write themes to their movies, when you could get away with writing a really, really memorable little tune to go with your movie. And the ones I'm thinking of here are John Williams, of course, and Jerry Goldsmith, and the Aliens guy. I can't even remember his name. James Cameron uses him all the time. Danny Elfman. But in a horror movie, that doesn't work so well. It works well with a space opera, because it's a space opera. But if you're hearing very big upfront music in a very tense scene, and you hear a musical melody being played, for me, that takes me out of the experience. So it doesn't work very well in The Changeling.
Typically in thriller and horror movies, your score is sort of your emotional temperament. It's sort of telling you what to feel. The score will spoon feed you, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was a kid and I was watching something scary, I wouldn't close my eyes. I would plug my ears. Mm-hmm. That's what would scare me. I noticed that they made a point of him not showing his hands while he was playing the piano. Mm-hmm. But I liked the way they incorporated some of his equipment. The fact that he was using the old school reel-to-reel to record his music, and that he picked up some ghost chatter on that. Mm-hmm. And I have to give points to a scene where they have a seance, or I guess there's something close to it in the house. Because this is a scene that we have seen a lot, and we'll actually talk about it because it happens again within these series of movies. But where you get people sort of hovering around a table and a medium trying to communicate to the spirit. It's just, how do you do that in a new way? Mm-hmm. And I actually thought that scene in The Changeling, where they did that, in spite of it being derivative, worked for me.
Oh, okay.
Not for you so much?
Not so much for me, no. But
I find it refreshing. I like the way that they handled her scribbling on the pads, and the guy was sort of moving the pages for her as she was writing out the words. And I don't know, it was one of the better presentations I've seen of that scene. And like I say, it's one of those things you almost have to find a way to get around when you're writing a ghost movie, because that's what you do, right? You try to reach out to the ghost, so there's inevitably that scene, right? So Anyway, I wanted to give it some points for that because I thought it was well executed.
Yeah. So in summary, for me, it's a decent movie. It is a decent movie. Yeah. Hampered by the fact that it's just so familiar. Yeah.
Even if you haven't seen this movie, you've seen this movie.
Yes. Indeed. So, when you compare it to the other movies on the list, it's just not going to rank as high. I'm not going to say this is a terrible movie, no, but it's also not going to be up there.
It didn't keep you up at night, no?
Nope.